This video is synthetic division. We've already talked about division once, the traditional kind, like we did back in elementary school. Synthetic is another word for artificial. A synthetic fabric is an artificial fabric and not cotton. So it's an artificial way of taking the traditional division and working it. The thing that makes it artificial is we divide without the variables. So a couple of things are very important, and if you're writing this in your notes, I hope. Number one, it has to be in standard form. Okay? And number two, the thing that you're dividing by, the number that you end up dividing by, must be in the form of x minus a being the number and x being the variable. So we'll talk about that in a little bit more detail with some examples. Okay. Here's a number, 3x to the fourth minus x to the third plus 5x minus 1 divided by x plus 2. Just like we were doing before with regular division, we're going to talk about what does this look like with synthetic division. Number one, I pull down the variables, I pull down the coefficients from the variables, so the 3 goes first, negative becomes negative 1. Now take a look here. I have a to the fourth term, a to the third term. See how there's no x squared term? I have to put a 0 in that place and hold its place, the same way we would do with numbers. If you have 502, 502, we're putting a placeholder in there. Then a 5 for the x, and then the negative 1. Again, pay attention to the fact that you must keep that sign that happened to be in front of your term, must come down with the coefficient. Okay? So those come right across here without their variables. It's being divided by x plus 2. But we have to have that in the form of x minus something in order to use that number. So it must be x minus negative 2, because minus minus is what gives me that plus. So the number that I'm going to put over here to divide by is negative 2. Okay, we'll do that again, but please make a note of that. So step one, we take that first coefficient, no matter what it is, and just drop it straight down here, down below where I'm going to divide, and I just place it there, and it gets set to the side for a minute. Now, I take this number, multiply 3 times the number I'm dividing by, and get negative 6. Now, what's different about synthetic division versus the regular division is, now I'm going to add these two numbers together. I don't subtract. So I have a negative 1 already. I just multiplied and got negative 6, so my new number is negative 7 right here. Okay, I'm going to pause for just a moment and move it to the next screen. But I have the same thing that's happened. So we just got to this negative 7. I do the same as I would in regular division, negative 7 times that negative 2, okay, and bring it down here, and it becomes positive 14. 0 plus 14 gives me 14. Okay. Next thing will be the exact same. 14 times negative 2 gives me negative 28. My initial coefficient plus negative 28 gives me negative 23. Take that same number, multiply it, get positive 46, add these two together, and I'm left with 45. Okay? This last number is going to be our remainder, always. Remainder. Make a note of that. Okay? This is completed. We'll talk about what in the heck did we just do. Okay? This is the same problem. Now what we do is we take these bottom numbers that we found and we put them back in with variables. Okay? Now, we know we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 variables, 5 numbers up here. So this is to the fourth, to the third, to the second, to the first, and no. We're going to have 1 less there. So we knew that this last number is our remainder. That means this number is our constant. This must be our x term. This is our x squared term, and this is our x to the third term. This is the answer to the question, what is 3x to the fourth minus x to the third plus 5x squared minus 1 divided by x plus 2? This is the answer, okay, with the remainder of 45. But as far as our exponents go, when we come to put our variables back in here, we will always have one less exponent or one lower exponent than we had in the original. This was x to the fourth, so I knew my answer was going to be an x to the third and go down from there. Let's take a look at another example. I'm starting now with x squared minus 3x minus 18 divided by x minus 6. Okay? So I'm going to take away the variables and just leave the coefficients, and I bring down a 1, a negative 3, and a negative 18. So far so good. I see this is already in x minus mode, so the number I want must be a 6. Okay? First thing I do is drop that initial coefficient down here and leave it. Bring a 1 down. Now 1 times 6 is 6. Add these two together and get 3. 3 times 6 is 18. Add these two together and I get 0. I'm at my remainder. My remainder is 0. That means this number went in evenly. So the answer is 1x plus 3. If I divide this number by this, I get x plus 3. That's the result. Okay, again, this was x squared, so I knew that my answer was going to go down one variable, one exponent to x plus 3. Guess what? It's your turn. Take a look at this problem. You're going to set it up the exact same way I set it up, so I want you to pause the video for just a second and write this down in your notes and practice this yourself. Okay, step 1, let's bring down the coefficients. I have a 6, I have a negative 5, and I have a negative 6. Now I take a look at this. It's not in the correct form, so it must be x minus negative 3, so I put a negative 3 over here. First thing I want to do with this guy is bring it down and leave it alone. 6 times negative 3, negative 18. Negative 5 plus negative 18 is negative 23. Okay? Negative 23 times negative 3 is going to be, let's see, 3 times 3 is 9. 2 times 3 is 6. And it became positive because I had negative times negative. So we'll add this and we will get 63. Okay? That's my remainder. So I know that if I took this number and divided it by this number, the answer would be, this is a squared, so this answer is 6x minus 23 with a remainder of 63. Okay? Once again, for your notes, no remainder means it is a factor. For instance, if we had 55 divided by 11, it equals 5. 5 times 11 equals 55. There's no remainder. There's no leftover numbers. So we know that 5 and 11 are factors of 55. But if I took 70 divided by 11, I would get 6 with a remainder of 4. It doesn't go in evenly. Therefore, 11 and 6 are not factors of 70. Okay? So, that last number that we did, whoops, I don't remember which one this was. X squared minus 3x minus 18 divided by x minus 6 gave us this answer back. That was the 2 problems ago. And had no remainder. That tells us that x plus 3 and x minus 6 are the factors of this number. Remember when we factor and we put it into little binomial form. This is one of the things that division will tell us is, what are the factors of this polynomial? Okay? Because there was no remainder when I divided it, I know that the answers are factors of that number. So, make sure you take the quiz on this. I hope you took good notes on it. If you struggled at all, I want you to go back and look at it again. We will be talking about this in class.